and it took me a second to solve, so we're going to do it together. We have a method called rarest, and we want to accept a map whose keys are strings and whose values are integers as parameter, and we want to return the integer value that occurs the fewest times in the map. And if there is a tie, we want to return the smaller integer value. If our map is empty, we throw an exception. So these are the three different things we have to code for. We have an example here of what would happen, and then if we have a tie, something like this. So read over that, make sure you understand it. Once you do, come back to this video. So pause it, read it, come back, and let's do it together. The first thing that we want to do is handling empty. And to handle our empty, we'll have if our map1 dot is empty. We are just going to throw, we're not returning anything, we throw a new null pointer exception. So this is going to throw our exception. Next is our storage. And inside of our storage, we want to have the number. So like it's going to be the value of the map that's passed in. The key is our value, and then our value is going to be the number of times it occurs. So number of occurrences, if I know how to spell, something like that. So let's do this. We'll have a map, and it's going to be type integer, and it's going to also be integer here. We're going to call it map2, and we'll set it equal to a new hash map, and we'll have our integer and integer. We can end this, and we've completed our map right here. So we need two values. We need this for when we are going to return. So we are going to need a variable for an occurrence and a variable for our smallest integer. We need the variable for occurrence because of this part right here. We want to return the smallest occurrence. So this is helpers for the map. We'll call it int occurrence, and we'll set it equal to our integer dot get, well actually it should be max value. So we have integer dot max value. And this is going to give us the max value in here so that we can decrement and get the smallest thing. And same thing for smallest. So we can do it on the same line. We'll do small, and that's also equal to integer.max value. But since occurrence is already equal to that, we can just set it equal to occurrence to keep our code shorter. And that's pretty much helpers for here. Now we want to go through the map, the original map, and form our map 2. So inside of here, we'll do this with a for each loop. We'll do for, we have to do a string because we are going through this with the string keys. String A, and we'll do map1 dot key set, and this returns a set of all the keys so that we can iterate through it with our for each loop. Now there's two things that we have to do inside of here if we want to update our map or put something originally in our map. If we want to update our map, we'll do if map2 dot contains key, and we'll pass in our current thing that we're looking at, which is this string A. If it contains this key, all we want to do is do a map dot put our map, we want to have the key, and we want to update our value. So let's see, we want a map1 dot get a, so we want this key, and then we're going to do map2 dot get, where we pass in, we want our current value, right? So map2 dot get a, remember we're updating this, right? So we're assuming that this string is already in here. So map2 dot put, we have this string being called, and then we're going to do map2 dot get, where we get the value. So we'll do map2 dot get value plus 1, and this is going to get the value. You don't have to put get value. So you have plus 1 like this. We can end this line, and that pretty much ends that if statement. Otherwise, we'll be in this else statement, and we want to put this in originally the first time, right? So make sure you have map2 dot put, so you're putting in the correct map. So otherwise, we'll do map2 dot put, where we're going to do our value, and then we're going to increment this by 1. Now, I just realized I made a slight mistake here, and it's the fact that this value right here, this key right here, this is going to be our key, right? This key is a string, and it's going to be one of these. And our map2 is not going to have a string because it's of type integer. And so I'm passing in a string here, not an integer. That's very wrong. We want to pass in the value of this key. So what we should be doing is saying if map2 contains this key, we want to get not the key, right? Because it's not going to contain this key. I hope that makes sense. So we're passing in a string value here, and we're checking it against these integer values. But we need these integer values and not the string values. So map2 contains key. We can't pass in our key from map1 because that's not going to be the key for map2. The key for map2 is the value. So we'll do map1 dot get where we pass in this key. So if you look at it, what we're doing is we have a key right here. We are getting the value at this key, and we're seeing if our map2 contains it. And it's going to be the same thing here, where we have our map2.put. We should have map2.get, and then we'll have a like this. So we are going to get our value here, right? And then we just update it. Same thing for this one. We'll do map, but this one's a little bit different. This map2.put, we don't have it inside of here yet, so we can't do map2.get. We'll have to do map1.get where we pass in this a. So that might be a little confusing. Make sure you understand this section first. This is how we're adding into our maps. If you do, then you're pretty good on maps. So once we're done with that, let's decipher our smallest value. This is what we want to get to. This is, once we finish the last part, this is how we're going to return. So deciphering the smallest value, we want to go through here, this map right here, and we want to look at our occurrence, and if there's a tie, we're going to look at the smallest. So we'll have a for each loop. We'll have for int a, and we're going to run this the entire length of our map2 dot key set again, because we want to return sets. And we'll have two things inside of here. We'll have if our map2 dot, because remember we're going through map2, get a, so we're getting the value at this key, which is our number of occurrences. If the number of occurrences is less than our current number of occurrences, a current number of occurrences, we are going to be inside of here, and we want to set our occurrence to be equal to map2.get a, because we want to update our occurrence, and we want to update our smallest. So now small is just going to be equal to this value right here, which is a, because this value is a little bit confusing with the keys and the values. It took me a second to actually code this one, but the occurrence inside of this map is going to be this value, and the key, which is going to be this integer right here, the key is going to be the actual number that we're going to want to return. We're going to want to return small, not occurrence. So we'll end this line. That's it for that if statement. Otherwise, if it is equal to, so I'll just do an else if because I like defining my statements. Else if map2.get a is equal to our occurrence, we're going to be inside of here, and all we want to do is check for our small now. So if map2.get a is equal to occurrence, and we can actually put this next check inside of here, and if our a value, so the current value being passed in, which would be like 22 versus 20, if it is smaller than our current small, we are just going to want to update this. We don't have to do braces, we can do it on the same line. We'll do small is equal to a. Hopefully that makes sense. We're going to close off our for loop, and then we should be able to just return our smallest value. Let's submit that. as always, if you do have any questions, because this one's super complicated, please leave them in the comments. Oh, we do get a null pointer exception here. And let's see this. So it's for this if statement, going through our original map. We want to check if it contains this key that we passed in, map2.put. And instead of doing map2.get, that might result in an issue for this first one, because this is getting the value at map1. Yeah, so since it's getting the value at map1, we're going to want to change this to map1.get, I believe. And then we have map2.get, we have a, and then a. Oh, this is actually the error. So I don't think that matters. We can check this again if it gives us another error. But for this one right here, this is going to be our number of occurrences, right? So what we want to do is a map2.get, but we're passing in a. We're incrementing this right here, and this map2.get a is going to be this larger value, which we don't want. We want the number of occurrences. So to get that, we have to do map2.get, and then we're going to also pass in our map, and I think this can be 1 or 2, but map2.get, and then a right here. So what this should be doing is we have this string a, which is a string key. It's going to go into here, and it's going to get this value, which means that since this is a string, this does have to be map1.get, and this also should be map1.get. So we're doing map2.put, where we put in the value here, not the key. So map1.get a is going to give us this value here, or whatever value we're looking at, and this map2.get right here is going to get inside of our map2 the key, or I'm sorry, the value of our map1.get a, which would be something like this. But this number, remember, the value in here is the key in here. So we are going to get the occurrence number and add 1 to it. That was a lot, because we're using multiple maps and we're doing a ton with it. So if you do have any questions, please leave in the comments. I'll answer them right away. If you want simpler problems, because we're almost at the end of the chapter, they're in the playlist linked below the like button.